All right. Hello again, everybody.
What's up, chat?
Hey, so we got a really awesome film to talk about today. Like one of the craziest, most psychedelic, acid trippy, I don't know what films like in the last couple of years. Mandy. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, it is unique.
Yeah, and so who's the director for this film? I forget his name.
So the director for this film is Panos Cosmatos. He's a Greek filmmaker, the son of the... So a little bit of background on this movie for me is I saw, they were premiering it at Sundance, I think. And so I was following that coverage and I saw the name, I hadn't heard of him as like a filmmaker or whatever, but I recognized the last name. And then I was like, wait a minute, is he related? No way. So he is the son of filmmaker George Cosmatos, who... again, was responsible for painting a large part of my childhood. He's the guy who directed Rambo and Cobra with Stallone and Tombstone, the whole fucking, Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell. So he's he's a pretty big filmmaker in the 80s and 90s. He has since passed away. Both of his parents passed away. But Panos's movies are like acid trips, basically. They're like horrific acid trips. And so Elijah Wood saw his first film and got involved somehow with this production, basically. And he was the reason, he was like the main muscle that pulled in the Nicolas Cage in particular. And then they went back and forth for a while. They wanted Nicolas Cage for the role of Jeremiah. And then...
But he didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it, but then eventually they all realized that they're insane, that if you can get Nicolas Cage at all, you just let him do what he wants to do, and he's going to do the Nicolas Cage thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that came together. But this movie actually was in development for a very long time, like years, because they had, it's a difficult thing to kind of sell, but the Elijah Wood muscle really helped. And basically once they got Nicolas Cage, it was like, they're solid. They were able to get their first choice was always Andrea Riseborough, who I have a significant thing for. I've always been a fan of hers. I saw her in like some like a Sam Taylor short film, the woman who ended up making 50 Shades of Grey, and then I saw her in Oblivion with Tom Cruise. Right, that was kind of her big break. And then I've just like, she's been like probably the most interesting actress in the last decade for me to watch. Yeah, she's got a lot of stuff coming up, like a lot. Just looking at her IMDb, it was like 6 things, either in pre-production or something like that. Yeah, she seems down for a lot of weird shit. We were just talking about there's her new film Possessor, so she's into a lot of weird shit, and I appreciate that a lot. So.
Yeah, it's always good when you see the real artisty types that are like, I want to be a part of this insanity because someone has to make it happen.
Right.
I mean, Nicolas Cage is kind of, I feel like, very high on that list of the things, whether it be because, he spent too much money and got into trouble with the IRS, so he had to say yes to everything. But he said yes to some stuff that's, like, the fact that he's the lead in this feels so right.
It does. It is incredible to me that somebody Nicolas Cage is like he's like one in a million, right? It's incredible to me that somebody that of his status in the industry, or somebody that used to be just so like what's the word?
Oh, he's
bankable.
Yeah.
He's A-list, baby. Yeah. Like and he's just doing all these really, really interesting, like this movie belongs in like a bargain bin somewhere. Like no one, you're like to an A-lister like him, right? But he fucking did it. He gave it his all.
Yeah, the thing about it too is like Nicolas Cage from the jump. He started by trying to undersell himself because he didn't want to be, because he could have just said, I'm Nicholas Coppola. I'm related to Francis Coppola. Yeah. I'm amazing. You should, and he's a really good actor, right? I mean, he won an Oscar for a very good performance playing a drunk guy in Leaving Las Vegas. And
he was doing weird shit before that. I mean, he was doing not only, he got the Oscar and then he got more like lead roles, like action movie roles and things like that. But like he was doing like serious dramas, and he was doing Coen Brothers movies and David Lynch movies and shit like that. So like he was already like on his way, well on his way.
I mean, even in the stuff like Face Off, he's weird.
Oh well,
and that's a big film, but he is weird, and he revels in it, right? He revels in this. Yeah. I mean, what I love too is like, so there. I don't know who came up with this term, but he has a term for like what his acting style, and it's called nouveau shamanic. And yeah,
cool.
You ever heard of that? I mean, yeah,
that's really cool.
That is a term. That is an actual term for his acting style.
Wow.
And which is because it's shamanic because he says he's summoning some kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so he's just channeling a force, and it comes out through him. And I mean, again, like what was that Port of New Orleans, Bad Lieutenant?
Bad Lieutenant, yeah. That's a fucking great movie on its own, but also his performance in that movie with the lizards and the I can see his soul dancing. Like, oh man,
crazy.
There's a fun anecdote on the behind the scenes. Elijah Wood is talking about so basically the reason that he had a relationship with Nick Cage is because they did a movie together. One of those like shitty straight to DVD movies that like both of them seem to be doing in the last 5 years or whatever. And he was basically saying how like even for Elijah Wood, he's like growing up, he's just like Nicolas Cage is like such an icon and a legend. And such a character that he was doing scenes with him. And it was like, yes, he was in the mode where he was acting or whatever. But then every once in a while he would be on set and they'd be doing a scene together. And then his head, he'd be like, oh, that's such a Nicolas Cage reading. Like, that's so funny. And he was like, wait a minute, that is Nicolas Cage. I'm acting opposite Nicolas Cage. What the fuck? So that was like the first time they'd worked together. So
yeah, I know.
He was like a kid. He was just like, he did the thing.
Yeah. I mean, like there are just some actors that they've reached that level, right? Where their work is above them as a person. And he's almost like a meta figure because he's so weird in his films. And he does these films that people like imagine Denzel Washington doing this kind of shit.
Right. No, for real though. Yeah.
Because that's actually the level that he is at as an actor historically, and he's doing this.
Yeah, and this is one of the best or better realized types of, because he's done a lot of shitty movies, B movies, bargain bin movies, whatever you want to call them. But this is probably the best realized and most like perfected, like tonally and artistically. So he's able to, like, yes, he does the Nicolas Cage things that you can see in every other movie that he's ever done, including the bargain bin ones, because, they get Nicolas Cage and they want to see him go a little crazy. But in this movie, the crazy is, like, tailored very specifically, and it works really well.
Yeah, it's really motivated, right?
It is. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like you can see any normal human who goes through what he goes through is going to be like, oh,
True.
Nah, man, I'm out of it. I'm going crazy. Where's Bill Duke?
yeah, exactly. Oh my God, dude, Bill Duke. You want to talk about other like legends, right? Like, certified fucking like, yeah, weird how this movie came together.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, here's this, by the way. I wanted to show this. So yeah, there's your steelbook. There's your black metal album cover. But the coolest thing about this, check this shit out. So yeah, you got all your stuff, but it comes with temporary tattoos of the title and the Cheddar Goblin. So you can tell that this you've got on the inside, you've got the picture of him with the chainsaw. I mean, you can tell this is like the people who made this movie and the marketing in particular is just like, we know that we're making a midnight movie. Like, if this is the year 1981 or whatever, this is like the Evil Dead for the generation. So yeah, they knew what they were doing with this one.
Yeah, this film, to me, it almost feels like it should have been something from the 70s. Like this feels like something you would have watched. Absolutely. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then you just came up with this film afterward.
Yeah,
like the next level.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's got a lot of that in it. It's a pastiche of like a lot of different horror directors and pop kind of the aesthetics to it. I don't know. Yeah.
Have you ever seen? I haven't seen the film Heavy Metal yet.
Yes.
I haven't seen that. But right? Does it kind of
there's-
feel like that?
It calls back to it, in the animated sequences. It's like it directly like lifts things from Heavy Metal. So that's the thing, is the first time I saw this movie, I was trying to, so like 2 years ago, I was trying to figure out what the internal logic of it is. I was just like, okay, so there's like the Abraxas of whatever, and there's like these magical stones, and this guy has like the dagger of whatever, and like I was trying to piece it all together. I was like, is it a commentary on Satanism? Is it a paganism thing? Like, what is going on here? What's the deeper message? There is none. It is 100% confirmed there is none. There's no like overarching kind of mythology that this movie creates. This movie is just a collection of things, of influences. I have quotes from Panos about like kind of how he approached it. And we can get into that as we get into the film. But yeah, it's not about the whole, like, it's not intellectual, and it doesn't get in its own way. It's
just there for the kind of grindhouse thrills.
Exactly. If you see it, so you can point at it and be like, that's the thing.
Yeah. Okay, so this film opens up, and then there's like a title, The Shadow Mountains, 1983. Mm-hmm. And then we basically get like all the setup, right? So there's Red and Mandy, and they're living together somewhere in the outskirts of any town. And like from the jump, we're hit with, I mean, pure style, pure cinematography.
Yeah.
The lighting, that purple and red, the deep red, and it's and like the deep blues. I mean, it is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. No, it is gorgeous. And this made me think of like, because we've seen so many low budget movies, especially like low budget movies in the last 10 years have like a particular look to them, where you can like those movies that end up on Hulu or whatever, like the Steven Seagal-ish type movies that like you can tell, like again, we keep talking about like if your movie's like 40 minutes of just people in cars talking, like, and then your budget is spent on the last 10 minutes on the last fight scene or whatever. This is how you do a low budget movie. If you can't go, globe-trotting adventure, and if you can't go crazy, you have very, very, very specific sets, and you have very specific cinematography, or like you have a look to it, and like that takes like for me, I wasn't thinking about like this is a B movie. I was thinking of like this is a very specific vision, right?
And it's really good you bring that up, because there are car scenes in this film where it's Nicolas Cage in a car,
right,
doing something, and there's all these scenes where he's driving somewhere, and like the road is super foggy and it's red.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, dude, this guy is in another universe.
It's in another dimension, yeah. And those were all just, they had a painted background, basically, of the red or whatever of the forest, and it was just him in a car on a set. But again, it was just the idea of doing it that way, of just like, fuck it, if we're not gonna be able to get the big CGI like vision, like landscapes or whatever, let's just make this like its own world, basically. Let us create this album cover that this movie lives in. And that's basically what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like the beginning is all just like set up. There's like some weird dream sequences. Like, I don't know who's having the dream. I think it's Mandy. She like in the forest, she sees a dead goat or something. Dead baby goat.
I believe it was, I mean, again, it doesn't really matter, but I think it might have been, what's his name? Jeremiah Sand. He's the dreamer in this.
Okay, so Jeremiah is dreaming of her.
Yeah.
And then he meets her. And then he sees her and he's like, oh, I have to have her. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and then Mandy, she's reading this book, Seeing the Serpent's Eye. I'm sure that's a reference to something.
So it's actually not. So the Serpent's Eye thing is a prop. It's just a book that they made up. It just sounds metal. It's just like a cool thing. It's actually based. It's the name of the song in the score by Johan Johansson that's playing in that scene. Is the name of that book. That's all it is.
Cool.
Which, by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Johan Johansson, one of my absolute favorite composers in the last decade. He did a lot of work with Denis Villeneuve. The reason that I cried like a bitch at the end of Arrival is in huge part to his score. And this movie's dedicated to him at the end of the credits as well. He passed away. He was like 49 or something, 48, I think.
That's
Well,
sad.
he was gonna do Blade Runner. Like he was the guy. Like he was the guy. But he won. He was nominated for an Oscar. He won a Golden Globe, and he passed way too soon. So
Yeah,
I wanted to
that's
give a
sad.
shout out to him. Yeah, he's a great composer because this movie's got that noir-ish like
Oh, like the synth.
this depressing synths, right? Yeah. So that's all Johan.
Yeah, the synthwave stuff is really, yeah, it's good, and I feel like it's kind of making a comeback.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In large part to him, yeah.
Yeah. So Mandy, she's reading this book, and then we basically get the first real inciting incident of this film. She's walking down the road because I think she like works at a convenience store or something like that. And driving down the road is the cult. And again, it's so beautiful the way they shoot this scene, because it's like, I mean, you know that something weird is afoot because everything is red. Everything is red. And it's all shot in slow motion, and then he sees her, and then she sees him, and that's it. And it's just the choices they make are so strong, but they're so good because you immediately feel, again, like you're in another world. Like even if you don't totally understand cinematographically what they're trying to do, you feel like something's up, something's wrong, something's gonna go bad.
Yeah, something's out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and that these normal people are about to be like totally taken into another universe.
Yeah. So I think this is. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was about it. That's all I wanted to cover. I just thought it was just like so strong what they were trying to do, and it works. It just all works. The tone is consistent, and it works.
Yeah. That's one of the things I would comment on. Like, this movie feels like two different movies to me. Like, there's a very distinct point, like halfway through, that it just like turns into another movie, but the tone is consistent throughout. And I wanted to read some quotes from Panos himself. Basically, he said, it's not how the story is told, it is 100% how the story is told, not what the story itself is. So that's how he approached it. And then he goes on to say, when I'm assembling a film, it's initially a collage of moods and fears and inspirations that all have to be synthesized. I think of each film as a kind of pop artifact, and every creative decision I make has the kind of overarching concept behind it. So again, I basically summed it up, but yeah, like you said, like they make a lot of very specific choices, and it's because everything is some kind of collage, right, of other inspirations and things and moods and like things that you want to point at and say, hey, there's a thing. So I don't know, I just wanted to pull that in because I thought that's an interesting like approach to filmmaking, because I feel like a lot of people like get really bogged down in the details, and he's just like, big idea, like what do I want this mood to be,
Yeah,
and it is very moody.
Yeah, it's like, how do I want the viewer to feel seeing what they're about to see?
And the first half of this movie is excruciatingly slow. Like, I would say for a lot of viewers, they would not make it past the first hour to get to the revenge act. I feel like a lot of people would be, because it's weird. Like, again, the titles are weird. They're like, what's going on here?
I mean, you have to be sold on it aesthetically, I think. If you're down, if you see that shot of her when she sees the cult, and it's all like this deep red, it's very dreamlike, and it's slow motion, and if you get what he's trying to make you feel, you're down. Right. If not, then this film isn't for you. But I think it does such a good job of like setting us up for all this stuff. Oh yeah. That I think I'm sure there are some people that it just doesn't work for them. But I think for a lot of people, even if you don't like maybe this particular style of a film, you get what he's trying to get at, and you're gonna process, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be feeling in this moment by moment. Because and we're about to get to some other really strong choices that they make in terms of like the mythos of what the hell is going on. But it's just all the time. It's like just another choice that like makes you feel like, whoa, okay, there's some kind of bigger, crazier thing coming at me as the viewer.
Yeah. It's not like pointless or anything. Like I hope it doesn't sound like I'm making it seem like it's just a bunch of ideas put together. Like it's all serving the bigger idea, and the idea is just like this mixture of all of these things of the metal music and the late 70s, the expressionistic, the weirdos, the Dario Argentos, and that kind of horror, and all the shit mixed together.
Yeah. So continuing with the plot, so then there's this title card, Children of the New Dawn, and that's this cult who's led by this guy Jeremiah or whatever,
which is basically like straight up just a Black Sabbath song title. It just is, and the font of it is like the Masters of Reality font from that record. It's all very, very intentional.
Yeah,
it's to exude that like 70s dark psychedelic mood. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm not like a metal person, but I feel like if you're into that, it's like a whole nother level for the. Because then you get like all those little references and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean Mandy is she's wearing like Motley Crue shirts and Black Sabbath shirts,
Black Sabbath.
Like all these different things. Yeah, she's got this like 80s like metal girl look, but it's like out of place in the rest of it, because the rest of it feels like a 70s psychedelic thing, like a prog rock kind of like it feels more in line with that, but she just like feels a little out of place. Her character description in the script is really interesting, and I can read that for you if you want at some point.
Yeah. We should definitely. We'll talk about that when
we'll talk about like more about Mandy. Yeah, because she is the catalyst for like
captured.
What happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we get Jeremiah. He's like, they're somewhere, and he's like angry, and then he's like, so there's all these other characters. So there's this woman, Mother Marlene. And he's like yelling at her. It's like, I need her. I need the girl that I saw in my dream, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, bring in Brother Swan. And then, so this guy, Brother Swan, comes in. He's like, I need you to get her. Is that going to be a problem? He's like, no, not at all. I'll do it. And he says, do you have the horn of Apraxis?
Yes.
The horn of Apraxis.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then he pulls it out. And then again, another really, really strong choice. They hit the fucking thing with the what is it? The flashing lights, like green flashing lights.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, as the camera's like panning along. Yeah.
Well, what's that? The strobe lights. They hit it with the strobe, green strobe lights, and you're just like, because like if you don't understand what any of it, like that could be gibberish, right? It's almost like a MacGuffin.
It kind of is. It is totally gibberish. Yeah. It's something that sounds mystical and evil, and yeah.
It is. Yeah, exactly. It's this weird mystical thing. Does it really matter for the plot of the film? No. It could have been I don't know, it could have been a cell phone or whatever. But well, they don't have cell phones at the time. But the whole point is like we see this thing that has a weird name, and then we see this aesthetic visual choice, and we're immediately like, whoa, something crazy, something mythical, something mystical is about to happen. I don't know what it is, but I am curious now, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I just love that they do that, right? I just look, because like I like that kind of stuff, that kind of crazy world buildy, wonky. We'll get into what the Horn of Apraxis summons in a bit.
Oh yeah.
But it's just it's so weird and so out there that I love that kind of stuff, because there's so like if we take the Hitchcockian kind of horror stuff, right? For him, horror was the guy down the street who is actually a serial killer who keeps people in his basement. Or to some person you're driving down the road and then you like stay at a hotel. It turns out the guy has some real mental issues and then he's going to kill you. And then there's this film, which is that there is some otherworldly thing and some crazy ass people who are just going to do crazy shit to you. And it's like, is it going to happen in the realm of reality? No. But if we lived in the world, if we lived in Mandy world,
oh god,
oh my god,
no. I mean, like there are cults out there. You know, there are occult cults. There are like weirdos out there who are like planning to sacrifice you to whatever deity. But like this is a little more specific than that, right? Like this is a little more fantastical and out there. Like you said, like in that world, it kind of makes sense. But in the real world, like you would, I don't know, you would just punch these guys in the face. Like they're all a bunch of like weirdo hippies. Very, very like Rob Zombie. This whole thing, like with it's very music video-y, very like again the strobe lights and the colors and this particular gang of freaks reminded me a lot of like House of a Thousand Corpses and shit like that.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I really like it. So then we get some more stuff. So Mandy, she works at this convenience store. Mother Marlene comes in. She does some, I guess you would call it social engineering to figure out where they live.
And this is, by the way, the most plot this movie like ever has.
Yeah. To explain how.
I was really actually surprised by this. I was just like, oh, we were going to go to the convenience store. I thought we were just going to be at the like level above the level. We're just going to be abstract the whole time.
Yeah,
no,
yeah. But that is a
normalcy.
Like one connective thing. So now we understand like how they know where to find Mandy and Red. Mm-hmm. So then the next scene is Brother Swan uses the horn of Abraxas and he's like plays the flute. And then there's this annoying kid who's like, hey man, what's going on? What do we do now? Now we wait. Yeah. This is the part. Yeah, this is the part where if you were previously not sold on this movie or you were thinking about turning it off, this is the part that like it cements you and like you have to watch it all the way the rest through, because what happens in this scene is fucking insane. Yeah, and then the like mutant demon something biker gang shows up on motorcycles and UTVs. And they're all wearing all black. You can't really see their face. Like the one guy, his hands like it's like sharp knives or something. It's all just really, really shrouded in darkness, and the colors. And this, like we don't have enough words, I think, to describe or accurately like the pure visual like spectacle of this scene of these guys showing up on ATVs and they're like slimy and fucking BDSM-y. And like it's like the Gimp. It's like from fucking Pulp Fiction. Like the Gimp showed up in his crew. That they were like a bunch of mutant killers. I really like that you brought that up, because like at first things are like kind of normal. It's like it's them in this car, this truck or whatever, and the background's just black. And then this fucking smoke comes in, and then the color comes in, and then these biker gang shows up. And it's just like, whoa, again, it's like you get this strong feeling that there is some invasive force, this otherworldly force that's coming. And it's very silhouette. It's very like lucid. The feeling that you get from these scenes, it's almost like you're in a weird nightmarish dream.
You have to be. These guys are so far out of left field. I mean, the movie's a little weird. Like it is weird up to this point, but these guys are so out of left field as like villains that show up that don't make any kind of like metaphysical sense. They just kind of show up and they're these like demonic monsters, right? That are like blood for blood, and they drink this like jar of blood that the father, or what's his name, Brother Swan, gives them.
Brother Swan. Yeah, well, it's a jar of LSD, as we find out later.
Bill
Duke later. Yeah, so they summon them, and this is like their own personal gang of of muscle.
Basically,
and they exchange this thing. We don't know what exactly, but they exchange this thing. He gives them a jar. The dude chugs some of it, and he's like, more blood for blood. And he's like, you do what I want first. And wow, it's crazy, right?
It's insane. It's in this again. This is the scene. This is one of those scenes that again is just it's so creative and it comes out of nowhere, and it's such a very specific it's like an artist's thing, like that somebody came up with this shit, right? I got the same feeling when I was basically when I was deciding, I was like, are films like even worth pursuing? Like, is there even a thing? Like when I was pretty much like the film that made me go down this down this path that I'm on right now was Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me. There's a scene in that with the people who live above the the gas station or whatever it's called. I don't remember, but like just there are some things that come out of nowhere that are just like so very specifically and so artistic that you're just like, okay, like there's merit to this whole film thing.
Yeah. If you can even be close to achieving these kind of things, it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then the demon mutant biker game, they show up and they jump Red and Mandy. They just fucking, there's this crazy scene where
You want to talk about strobe lights?
Yeah, where
this is your epilepsy warning.
Yeah, it's them at night, and it's strobe, and you see the mutant things coming in, and then they attack Red, and yeah, they kidnap Mandy. And it's just like, it's something else, man. It's really something else.
Well, speaking to the budget of the thing and the kind of approach of it, again, like we were talking, like if you don't have the money to do the things, then you have to get really creative with it. And it didn't quite click with me because like a lot of this movie, again, it's like super dark, and there's a lot of like they use a lot of just like complete just pure blackness and just colors, and they just go back and forth between the two. And it didn't click for me until I heard the one of the interviews with Panos, and he basically said that he learned from like Ridley Scott, because Ridley Scott said on Blade Runner that his two biggest allies are darkness and rain. So you can hide a lot of shit in darkness and rain. Like you don't have to build that much or like show as much if you can just kind of shroud it in darkness or rain. And Panos was like, we didn't have money for rain, so I just used darkness basically for this movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it makes a lot more sense going through it now. Yeah. Because it's like almost silhouettes most of the time when these things are happening.
Yeah, because like, actually, if you think about a lot of what's happening in this film, there are certain kind of set pieces, and when we get to the parts where, it's the revenge part of the film, I mean, it's either like on an open road or it's like basically a set, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. But you're not thinking about that. You're like, again, like shot by shot, scene by scene, you're just like, that's something new, and like it's framed in an interesting way, or it's colored in an interesting way, or it plays at a weird speed, or there's like trailing effects. Like there's always something to distract you from that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so then Mandy gets taken into this cult, and there's this whole thing where they douse her with drugs, and they put some LSD in her eye, and then they fucking sting her with this, I don't know what the hell that was. Some kind of hornet or something. I mean, it's not, again, this is more of the film kind of being crazy. I mean, I don't think that's a real animal that exists in our universe.
No.
But that makes it scary, right? It's like, fuck this. I don't want to be in this world.
If you really, really have to think about it, it's possible that maybe that bug is like the thing that they secrete this LSD fluid from. It's like, I don't know. That's the best I can come up with.
Yeah. So then we get this really trippy scene where she meets with the whole cult and Jeremiah is doing this weird shit, talking about the song. And was that something he wrote? The song that he was playing? Yeah. So he's, again,
he's like a failed musician. He's like a failed artist, basically.
Just like, what's his name? Manson kind of deal. Yeah. Another kooky.
A nice little reference there.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the pastiche.
Manson wrote a song for like the Beatles, right?
I don't remember.
Anyway.
Fucking whatever. The 60s were weird, man.
Yeah, it was really weird. Okay. So then Jeremiah gets naked and he's like trying to have sex with Mandy, and then she just like laughs in his face. Well, she laughs in his face because she's like, you wrote the song? And then she starts laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't look at me! To like everyone else, don't fucking look at me! Don't fucking look at me!
Yeah.
That seems great. I really like this scene too, because like there's this moment where he's talking directly kind of into the camera, and it's like his face and her face, they're like melted on top of each other.
Freaky. It never fails. It's so freaky. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's presumably a simple effect, but yeah, like the way that it fades in from his face to her face and back and forth. Like if you want to, like if you weren't sold on the LSD trip at that point, then like you're in it. You're in it then. Yeah.
Now you really got there. So now Jeremiah's mad, and so then they go back to the house. And then there's some more weird culty stuff. He like makes this girl like, oh, show him how much you love me, and she plays Russian roulette. And then again, another weird, they stab him with the tainted blade of the pale knight.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. That's a Dungeons and Dragons reference.
Straight from the Epistle Lair.
Yeah, no, those are all like literally lifted from the like Dungeons and Dragons like manual. That's what that's.
Yeah.
Again, I was trying to piece this shit together the first time around, and I was just like, "What is this movie saying?" And then I was like, "It's not saying anything."
Yeah,
it just is.
Yeah, it just is.
I love that.
And I think there was another strobe when he pulls out the blade or something again, and then they stab him, and then they burn Mandy alive in like a body bag upside down.
Yeah, because basically Jeremiah's whole thing is just like kind of like, if I can't have her, you can't have her. He's just like a petulant child, basically.
Yeah. And so I think this comes to like the most like interesting acting. Well, not the most interesting, but like the most like real acting part of the film. Like he gets free, Red gets free, and he sees Mandy like it's just ash. Yeah. And there's a part of her skull, and then it just disintegrates.
Yeah,
and he's like
really
crying.
Brutal.
Yeah, I thought he really like he hit that like that was like the one real moment of, because like that sells us on the revenge part a little bit emotionally at least.
Yeah, that's one of the scenes that reminded me of like, it's such a shame that horror movies are not given their due in terms of like acting accolades. Like you never hear of a horror movie getting like an Oscar for performance.
I mean, after Hereditary, right? Like after
exactly.
Tony Collette,
thank you.
It was like, okay, fuck you guys, or even like Us, like regardless of what you think, like Lupita killed it, but like again, like they won't do it, which
never,
is never.
It's stupid. I got the same feeling when I was watching Possessor. Like the actors are doing shit in that movie that is just like they have to go to such an intense place and they do such a great job, and it's just like that will never be recognized, and this movie will be pretty much exclusively seen by the midnight crowd. And it's like you'll be a cult icon, but like the performances are like right up there as far as I'm concerned with like any whatever drama the Oscars is putting up on any given year. Really, really, really solid. And Nicolas Cage is really selling it on this one.
Yeah, I thought it was strong because like that is a moment.
Yeah, more than him just doing his thing. Yeah. Like he's actually like putting in like really, really emotional.
Yeah, because that's gonna come very shortly.
Yeah,
the meme stuff, the meme level stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so then this happens. Then we get a animated interlude, and so we're talking about this a little bit before we went live. I haven't seen heavy metal, but like I know heavy metal's like it's a thing that's in the pop ethos. Correct. I think.
Yeah,
and so
it was plucked right there.
Yeah. Boop. Yeah. So it was like, oh, this is like a kind of a heavy metal moment interlude. Yeah. And again, it fits so well thematically with what's going on in this film already that, it just like kind of slips right through there. As like, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. It makes perfect sense. You're just like, oh, now we're doing this. It's kind of like, I see. Yeah, we're still in the album cover. We're still in the heavy metal thing. Cool. The Cheddar Goblins are
the
there.
Cheddar Goblins. And then we get one of a couple meme moments in this film where it's Nick Cage in the bathroom where he's like trying to process what the hell just happened. And this is the Nicolas Cage we live for.
Such a great scene.
He's in the bathroom. He's like, and he just finds a fucking giant bottle of vodka. He's chugging the bottle of vodka, and he just
He starts like pouring it all over himself.
Yeah. He's like pouring it on his wounds. Yeah. just like the fact that he could go from selling us so hard emotionally on that moment of seeing his wife, like turn into ash, like her skull disintegrates into ash. We see an outline of her face just, and he cries, literally cries.
I don't think those two moments are too far from each other. I mean, they are obviously like in terms of like just craziness and intensity. But I feel like again, the overall mood for the movie, like it makes sense. Like it's not over the top.
Oh, of course it makes sense.
To me, it's not like this is the one scene that's over the top, and then we're gonna go back to something else. It's like it's all playing it on one level, and that's impressive to me that you can have a movie that has the energy of a Nicolas Cage meltdown and then just like hold that throughout. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Again, this is like people will have not seen this movie. They'll probably see this scene at some point.
Yeah, I hope so, man. It's so good. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's just because it's like whoa, right? Only he can bring that kind of an energy to a scene like that.
and fun fact, I didn't know this about actors. I know a lot of metal musicians have to have screaming coaches because they don't want to damage their vocal cords. Because during this scene, Nicolas Cage is just fucking screaming. He also had a screaming coach. I didn't realize this. Actors also have to have screaming coaches because they scream a lot. So
yeah,
that's something I learned. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he meets with like another awesome moment. He meets with Bill Duke. Bill Duke's like his
mentor archetype that just has to be in this movie, I guess.
Yeah. So Bill Duke, he lives in some, I don't know, like was an RV in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. he's like the grizzled like veteran almost of this whole world. He's like he knows everything about everything.
He does.
I don't want to get dragged into this shit, man. What are you doing?
And then he tells Bill Duke, "I've come for the Reaper," and then and it's a crossbow, and he gives him a crossbow. He gives him a couple of I don't know, arrows for it.
Yeah.
I love this. Then Cage, he has this breakdown. He's like, "What happened, man?" He's like, "I don't know, man. Little bunch of Jesus freaks, bikers, and gnarly psychos, man. It's crazy. I don't know."
Yeah. I wanted to touch on the Jesus freaks thing because, again, when I was trying to piece this movie together and try to find the deeper meaning of it, I was just like, again, like Satanists, what is it? Da, 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 da. And then he's like, "I don't know, man. Jesus freaks." I was like, "Oh, right. This is all bullshit. I remember now."
Yeah. And then, but what's funny is Bill Duke really actually explains what's going on in this scene. Mm-hmm. Like, again, just like you were talking about that scene with Mandy at the convenience store, this is another scene where they tell us what the hell's going on.
Right.
At least a little bit. Basically he explains that this cult, Children of the New Dawn, they created this batch of... So basically there's been this roving gang of people killing people. They said, like, oh, they kill truckers, they kill prostitutes, and people just disappearing. Mm-hmm. They don't know why, and it's always the same thing. People, if they only come at night, they're dressed in all black, biker gang, really weird. Mm-hmm. And basically this cult created this really good batch of LSD that they gave to them. This is the explanation, and they liked it so much that they're willing to do what the cult wants them to do in order to get more LSD.
I like hearing you say those words and putting that to paper, basically, because it sounds so stupid, and it is. But when you're watching the movie, you're like, yeah, the jar of LSD. Like, out of context, it sounds as schlocky and as grindhousey as it is, but like in the movie, you're just like in that mood. You're like, fuck those motherfuckers.
Yeah. It's crazy. And then we get this other amazing scene where he welds this axe, which I don't know. Did I had heard that this axe had something to do with some band.
It's a Celtic Frost reference. It's great. Celtic Frost is one of those like original like 1980s Norwegian like forest metal bands. So that's what it is. And that's the beginning and the end of it. It just looks really fucking cool. It's really metal. Let's go kill some people with it.
It's so fucking cool. It is so badass. Like, we were talking earlier, like there was some company that created a replica of this axe for $350, sold out. It's gone.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a cool thing to own, right?
It's so cool. It's so cool. And then, at this point, Nick Cage is hunting these demons, and he's just like out looking for them. And at night, he like he sees a bunch of them going, and he's got the crossbow, and he shoots one of them, and he sort of kills him, but not really. And then he tries to run him over.
The guy on the road. Yeah.
So he shoots him. The guy's like, but he's not dead, and he tries to run him over. His car crashes.
Dude, I saw there's a bunch of B-roll, behind the scenes B-roll on the Blu-ray, and the scene where they flip the car was like, so they basically all of the stuff that you see in this movie that like takes place in the forest outside was done in the forest outside in like pitch black. Like there's no city lights anywhere. Like they just went to some random fucking forest in Belgium to do this, and it was literally just them and a generator and some lights. So like they flip the car in the middle of the night, and they did a lot of these scenes just outside in the pitch blackness, and that is just such a cool, like, creepy.
That's crazy. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So then there's like another animated interlude, and then we see that he's taken hostage by these people. These demons, and so then he like gets free. He kills one of them, and then he like picks up a box cutter.
Okay, but when he's tied up to a pipe or whatever, and then
one of like his hands nailed to the ground or something.
Right. That's right. His hands nailed to the ground. The other one's tied up to a pipe. There's a hole next to him, and we don't see that hole until he throws the guy in it. Correct? Or do we see that hole before?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think we do. It was just such a weird thing because I was just like, the way that it's shot is just like him and then his aggressor, and then he like basically just tips him over into the hole, and it's revealed that there's this giant fucking black hole next to him the entire time. I thought that was the weirdest thing. But then that guy comes back later, so that hole, no idea. Completely a mystery to me because the guy comes back later. Very weird. Well, I think there's some, I don't know. Who knows? It's cool. It's really cool. I just like thought that was so interesting that like we're so focused on this like back and forth, and then the guy, he just like trips him basically like a Looney Tunes style into this hole.
Yeah. And then like then he runs across another demon who's watching porn. It's like watching like 70s 80s porn, and eating Chinese
like
food and shit.
Yeah, with like a rusty metal knife dick is the best way I could describe it. Which is, again, this is the shit I love. Like this is my happy place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that somebody made this movie.
It's absurd. So then he kills this guy watching porn. Then another one comes at him. I guess the guy who fell in the hole comes at him with a gun, shooting at him, and then he like takes this dude out. Another meme moment when he like does the head, like snaps his neck, like like the fucking like a kung fu movie from the 70s or something, like looking into the camera, motherfucker. And then he's not done yet. He fucking does some coke. He does a line of coke.
I love that. I laughed out loud.
He just picks it up, a line of coke.
Yeah.
And then he picks up his axe from like they like put it up somewhere. He picks it up and then he's out. He's going for revenge. He's killed them all. He's killed all of these demon biker gang people.
He does the coke off of a piece of broken glass in the way that you would dip like a Tostitos chip in like cheese. Like he just dips it into the cocaine and he just all the way through. It's beautiful. It's a sight to behold.
And he also like another thing is this is another cool scene. So again, he finds all this LSD. And he takes the LSD. He just takes a little bit of it.
Yeah. He puts like a tiny amount on the tip of his tongue, and then we are blasted into this like insane montage of like basically the most LSD thing imaginable, right? Like we see the they do like an Indiana Jones like version of his skull just melting.
Yeah. I mean, like his mind literally explodes.
Yeah, and what I like about that is once we come out of this little montage, they stay on his face a lot, right? And he's doing the Nicolas Cage face expressions, and you can see clearly his pupil. He has like basically his entire eye is just a giant fucking pupil at that point. So you kind of really get the sense of like how cracked out he is at this point. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so then he's got his axe, and there's another demon outside, and so he fights this guy.
The guy who's on fire.
Well, he burns him later.
He's the guy next to the car.
There's a car that's on fire. Yeah. So he fights this guy with his axe. We get an axe fight, which is pretty cool. And then, so he's like beating the guy. And the guy's like, she's still burning. She's still burning.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck you, you're gonna burn. He like cuts his head off, and then like the guy burns on fire.
So they fight or whatever. The dude's on fire, decapitates him, and his head still on fire is rolling away. And at that moment, the horror fan in you or the B movie fan in you is just like, because then he pulls out a cigarette and you're like, please light the cigarette off the guy's head that's already on fire, please, and then he does it, you're like, yes, this movie's fucking dumb and I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, but it gives you everything you want, right? Like,
exactly, yeah. And fun fact,
awesome.
that scene, him fighting the guy that ends up becoming on fire, they did that all in one night. And then the scene later with the chainsaw, the fight scene that we're going to get to, was also done in one night. And it is described, Panos described it as like the most, what was it, living hell that he's ever had to endure, was to do those two scenes in one night. And he's basically like, on a movie with like a normal production that had like a decent amount of money, would shoot these two scenes over like 3 days or whatever, or 3 weeks even, and he had to do them both in one night each. And so I don't know how you pull that shit off, but it's impressive.
yeah. It's I mean, it's probably 10-hour days of just. Well, I mean, it's probably
it's a night.
Only a
no,
night,
that's the
right?
thing, because they were doing this shit outside again in the forest. They set up the set outside, and they're just like, because
that gives you even less time. You'd have to set up like right before sunset. So you'd have like 2 hours to set up before sunset, and then you just shoot.
Yeah,
just shoot.
You have to like you have the fire people there, like the pyro people. Yeah, it's crazy.
So then there's this other scene. I didn't really understand exactly what happened. He meets with this guy at some place, like one of these guys connected with the cult, and the guy's there and they talk something. I guess the guy just tells him where the other people are. I don't exactly remember. But
okay, we got to talk about this.
There's like a tiger. There's like the tiger comes out at some point.
So he lets the tiger
go.
That's Richard Brake is one of those horror, like B-movie horror character actors. He's a Rob Zombie guy. He's that's kind of his thing, is like these types of movies. And this is his only scene in the movie, and I was really excited when I saw his name in the credits. He plays this character called the Chemist, and he's just like, again, just another mystical shaman type character that exists to just be fucking weird, I guess. And he has a tiger, and apparently originally in the script, the tiger was supposed to be a lizard, and they didn't. Whatever, like this things happen, you know how productions work, and then they get Richard Brake on the set, and Panos walks up to him. He's just like, "Oh, by the way, Lizzie is a tiger now." He's like, "What the fuck?" And there's like they have an actual tiger on set, shot on a green screen, and it looks insane. Like the behind the scenes of this movie is fucking crazy. So basically, this guy, so this guy had no idea that like Lizzie was a tiger. He thought it was like a lizard, because in the script it was supposed to be like he has a mystical lizard or whatever. But now he has a tiger because they were able to get a tiger. Because why the fuck not? If you can get a tiger in your movie, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, it's badass for sure.
But that's the extent of it. It's just like, fucking, we got a tiger. So, you just got to tell them that you have a tiger.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's like one insert shot of like worms around his feet that like is never explained or comes back either. Just really cool, weird shit in this scene.
Just weird stuff.
But I think just an excuse to get like a B-movie horror guy to say some more weird.
I feel like that was the point, right? Like the guy gives up some information so that Red can find the other cult members.
Yeah,
I think.
Right.
I think.
No, I think that's true. But if you need to have like a connective scene, why not make it in the most weird, interesting way with a tiger, right?
Yeah, with a tiger, and then there's like that scene of like the tiger like looking up at something.
But again,
that was a bit what they shot with the green screen, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They had a guy like a trainer basically with like two
holding something.
Here it is. And he's like two sticks on. He's like basically like fighting the tiger while like getting it to look at certain things. It's crazy. Those animal trainer people are fucking insane. Yeah, because he's like staving off the tiger with one of them, and the other one he's just like, look over here.
yeah, because it's looking up, and it's crazy.
It's
man.
Insane, man.
It's absolutely insane.
Like I wonder how that happened. It's just like hey,
how they found the tiger guy.
We came out
Tiger King,
ahead.
Right?
There you go. There's your crossover. No, but like budget wise, it's just like, we ended up being a little bit ahead on this, so we have like an extra, I don't know, $30,000. What do you want to do? Let's get a fucking tiger. It's like, okay, sure.
I bet you what it is like you're looking for something. You're looking for animal people, and then you like meet someone's like, hey, dude, look, right. I'm a guy. I train stuff. I have a tiger. I have a lion. I have this.
You're right. And
it's like, whoa, you have a tiger? Like, how much for the tiger? Well, look, I'll do you a deal. It'll be $15,000 for one day.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably what it is. It's still cool. Worth it.
Yeah. 8 hours, $15,000 for a tiger. Basically, is probably what the deal was. I bet.
Yeah. Whatever, dude.
Okay, so then he starts hunting these people down, these cult members. So he finds Brother Swan, and this was a great kill.
Oh,
he finds this guy, and again they're like, oh, she burned so hot because she was a whore, and he fucking
the darker the whore, the brighter the flame. Which is a great line.
Yes. It's absolutely ridiculous. He's like, well, fuck you, bro. He takes the end of his axe, which is a spike, and he stubs it into his throat and kills him.
Yeah, and
Great.
And there's a lot of really good, like, crunching noises, teeth crunching noises, things breaking, real solid.
Yeah.
Satisfies the bloodlust.
And then we get a quick scene where the other guy, the dopey dude, the blonde dope idiot, throws the axe at him.
He's like waxing his car in the middle of the night or some stupid shit. Like, it makes, like, he's got this muscle car and it's like playing. He's listening to some like 70s rock or something like that. I don't remember what it was. So yeah, he just whoosh throws the axe at him.
One thing that we should sort of mention, I mean, it's not really relevant, but a bunch of these, so like the demons were like, we want more blood. So back in the scene where they jumped Red and Mandy, we also quickly see they had some other cult members, this fat dude and some other guy. They fucking feed these other random people to the gang.
Right. Yeah.
So half of them are already dead because the biker gang people ate them. And there was like another scene when he's at the wherever the hideout for the biker gang demons was. Like, there's a scene he looks over and he sees like a dude. Like two naked people that are dead, and like remember that like the dude's pants are down, So, this movie's insane. So yeah, already like half the people have been killed, and so then he's finding who's left, and so he kills two of them. He lets the woman go, the crazy woman who was like did the Russian roulette, lets her live.
Yeah, which I was happy about. There's like at least a modicum of just like normal, because like that would be the character that you would let go, right? She didn't do anything wrong.
Probably, yeah. I mean, she was kind of there, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, unless again, like you're just going for the bloodlust, but like, I mean,
it
shows that Red is he's only concerned with what he's concerned.
The film handled it, I think, in the way where it makes sense because like she was not a threat and she didn't try to stop him.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so therefore, he's gonna let her go. But these other people.
And specifically the other woman, right before he gets to Jeremiah, the other woman is like, she is actively trying to prevent him from his goal, which is to kill Jeremiah, and so off with her head. Yeah.
And so then we get another one of the great moments in this film, the fucking chainsaw fight.
Yes.
This is so great, like such a great setup, right? So he's like, he sees this guy, he sees the chainsaw, he's revving up the chainsaw. It's not working, but he's revving it up. The guy sees him. He pulls out an even longer chainsaw.
Yeah, that dude, what a fucking great idea. Like, what a great idea, basically. Just like comparing dick sizes almost. Because the movie's already operating on such a like heightened level that like when the dude pulls out like a 18-foot long chainsaw, you're like, sure.
And then they have an epic chainsaw fight in this film. Crazy.
This is one of those YouTube clips that like I feel like people are going to type in Mandy chainsaw fight scene. This is the absolute like highlight of the film, I think, in that sense of the fight scenes or whatever.
100%. And then what's even crazier is like the way that he kills him is he fucking like Ghost Riders his ass. Gets some chains, throws them around his neck, and then pulls the guy onto a chainsaw.
Yeah, he pulls him onto a chainsaw. Yeah.
This movie is something else.
It's a great thing, and I feel like it'll probably be fun to just watch as a YouTube clip over and over again. But like it feels so much better, and it feels so much more earned once you get to this point in the film after sitting through all of the LSD and through all of because they do a lot. We kind of glossed over, but they do a lot in the beginning of the movie to really try, and I don't think quite enough, but they didn't really have time for it to set up the relationship between Mandy and Red. Right, to set up like how perfect they are for each other, kind of, and how much she loves her and things like that. But there's really only like two or three scenes of that max before we have to get going. We have to get to the cult stuff. But like it just feels so much more cathartic having sat through all that stuff to get to the chainsaw fight.
Yeah, to get to the chainsaw fight, to get to the axing the guy in the throat.
Exactly.
Yeah, all of it is so satisfying. Like, you're just like, really I mean, the meme thing where he like snaps the guy's neck. All of it is just
yeah. I want those biker dudes. I want like a poster of them as like a band or something. I want those biker demon dudes on my wall.
Yeah. So then Red meets with Mother or whatever that chick's name, and she says some weird babble. Again, these people, they make no sense. Basically, they just like
no. She's trying to not necessarily seduce him, but she's trying to kind of offer herself up in that way
as a sacrifice or something.
In that way, so Red doesn't kill Jeremiah. Basically, like she'll go to that length of just like doing whatever for this man. So that he doesn't get to his ultimate goal because she's so devoted to him,
Yeah. So then Red shows up at this church in the middle of nowhere. It seems like
what a great fucking shot, by the way. That
it is a great shot.
Shot of the cross, and then we tilt down, and then like we push in, and it's like all just purple and red, and it's such a cool looking movie.
Yeah. So then he walks into this church, and it looks like honestly, like it was on a studio, like a little room that they created.
Yeah.
But regardless, this is what we want, basically, right?
We're absolutely in it at this point. Yeah.
And then he fucking throws her head at her.
At Jeremiah,
and then Jeremiah's like pleading with him, like, "Oh, don't kill me, blah blah blah. I'll suck your dick, man. I'll fucking suck your dick."
That was the best because he's all high and mighty and he's all on this bullshit. And then in the by the end of it, he's just like, "Please, like, I'll suck your dick. Like, I'll do anything, please. Is that what you want?"
Yeah, he tries everything. He's just like, "I'll suck your dick. God's gonna damn you. God told me to."
Well,
blah, blah, blah.
All the God thing doesn't work, and then you're just like, "What, dude? What do you want? Like, I'll suck your dick, like, please."
Yeah. It doesn't work, and so he fucking crushes the skull, and that's it.
Yep.
And then he burns down his church. Another great scene, like when the church is burning. Yeah. That whole thing is so well shot. It's really cool.
Which again, church burning, like dark forest, black metal font, Norwegian overtones, Celtic frost. Very intentional. all the stuff.
Yeah, it's some cool stuff. Then we get so the next sequence was like he sees her, right? He like sees, I guess, how they met or something like that.
Yeah. It's like a flashback. It's literally supposed to be the emotional kind of resonance of the film, where even though she's dead and he's lost her, like they're a part of each other or whatever.
Yeah, something
that's
like that.
That's the message of the film. Mm-hmm. But what I love about it is like, we have this like weird trippy sequence where like he sees her. We kind of see how they met. Honestly, it's exactly how I would have imagined it. They met basically at like what it looks like a concert, right? Basically. Yeah. And she's in the car with him, then she's not. But then we see him driving down the road, and we tilt up and we see like the sky.
Oh yeah, right? That's crazy. Yeah.
And that is the most like album cover shit. Like it's hard for me to describe. It looks like a matte painting. Basically,
it does look like a matte painting a little bit. I mean,
it's really cool.
Now you know the way you would do it, like matte paintings and like using green screen are kind of basically the same thing. Yeah, but it's this like perfectly composed, illustrative kind of moment. Yeah. And it's awesome.
I mean, I didn't mean like literally like how did they do it. I just mean like it just it has that like aesthetic to it.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's
and
really
there's like more than one moon. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, there's I don't know, but this is Mandy. Like why does anything? Oh, you know what I bet it was? Remember like at the very beginning they talked about like different planets and shit?
Yeah.
Like what would be their favorite planet or some kind of random stuff?
Maybe it's Jupiter. It's like Jupiter and whatever. Yeah. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I bet you that's what it is.
I'll buy that for $1. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it's that shot is really beautiful for sure.
Yeah. It's just like the last thing that sells us on, like, we live inside a King Crimson album cover. Like it's
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And, like right before we get another crazy meme moment where, he sees her in the car and like there's like a kind of a beautiful emotional moment, but then we get the POV of like the other seat and him looking that way. He looks fucking crazy. He's got blood all over him.
Oh yeah, he looks insane.
He looks totally insane.
Like insane. I remember thinking in that moment, I was just like, because I know Nicolas Cage watches some of his movies. Like, I really want to know if he watched this. I'm sure he did. He watched this movie, but in particular, like, how fucking proud would you be if that was you on the screen and you looked that insane? Like, how you would be sitting there being like, I fucking sold it. Like,
yeah. I know.
Like, I don't. Especially, it depends. Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
Especially because like of what the character's been through. Mm-hmm. That tracks to where he should be at mentally.
And again, like the Tostitos chip of like cocaine that he did and the like jar of LSD, like all of it is just encapsulated in that face at the end of like, did I do good? Kind of.
Yeah. To no one when no one's there.
To no one.
And that's the thing. We get the reverse and we see that no one's there. Yeah. We see no one's there, and then we see him the way he actually looks. Because in his head, it's like this beautiful moment where he's seeing her again. It's the first time.
Fucking psychopath.
It's this fucking psychopath who just went on a murder spree. But again, he's up against demon biker gangs and fucking
which there is that is a thing that built into the making of this movie was that line in the beginning is like, when I'm dead, bury me, put two speakers at my feet, whatever. It's like from some kind of book on a philosophy or whatever of like basically the long end, the short end of it is just like the kind of thin delineation between like being a psychotic and like spiritualism basically. And this movie is like somewhere within all of this is like trying to live or to say something about that. But like, I feel like that seems like the most relevant shot about that kind of theme of just like, again, like the spiritual people were just as psychotic as he is. I don't know what the message is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's in there somewhere.
Another thing we talked about, like there is a term for his acting style, right? Nouveau shamanic. It is, he is summoning something outside of himself into himself that creates that moment, right? That's how you get him to do these performances.
yeah. It's great, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that covers it, right? I mean, what a wild film. Like, unbelievable. Yeah. And unbelievable that something like this, there's so much things that have to go right,
True.
For us to get this thing.
True.
Right? And all these different elements. You got to get Nick Cage as the lead. You got to get a director who's got such a strong vision. Yeah. Got to somehow get, you saying Elijah Wood involved?
Yeah. Elijah Wood is a producer on this film. Yeah.
Because like that first film, I don't know if you've seen it. You probably have his first film.
I haven't actually. No, this is really making me want to go back and see it. Yeah.
It's interesting. It is like pure mood, I would say.
Okay.
Not a lot of plot. I mean, this has way more plot than that film.
Okay.
But in terms of aesthetically, it's got a lot of what this has. Mm-hmm. But like that again feels more like your typical first time directed film. A lot of interior shots. It's all like they take people into some, I don't know, some institute to study them or some crap like that. And so it all takes place inside of one location, but it's like mood, color, weird stuff. Like, I don't know, trippy, It's a lot
Honestly,
of that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for like the 2 or 3 scenes in the convenience store and like them talking about Jupiter, like the first hour of this movie is basically that. It's just mood. Nothing is happening in the first half of this movie. I mean, there are things that are happening, but like compared to the second half, which is just straight ahead, like in order to get to the straight ahead revenge thriller stuff, like we sit through about an hour of just mood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we get all these payoffs, and the payoffs are great.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So do you have any kind of last things you want to talk about with the film?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I think I'm glad that, like, again, I understand it more having seen it again, because the first time I was, again, trying to get to the message. I was trying to get to the whole, like, what's the philosophy of this film? And then having delved deeper into it and reading interviews and stuff, it's more of like, if the impetus of it is just to come up with all of these influences and moods and colors and ideas and just kind of put it all together. That's kind of what this movie is, and you don't need to go farther than that. But I do think, like we were talking about before, this is going to be one of those movies in like 5, 10, 15 years that like is going to be talked about in the same vein as like an Evil Dead or a Dead or Alive or other kind of midnight movies that like people are going to respond to. Like the more people watch it, the generations are going to see it, and there's conventions, like you said, people buying replicas of the Scythe and fucking cheddar goblin tattoos. Like we're gonna see that stuff at conventions and things like that.
Yeah, all of it. That shirt he was wearing when he
the 44, yeah,
44. But also like even the one where he has the tiger on it when he was in his underwear in the bathroom. He had this giant fucking tiger on his shirt. Yeah, and I feel like that's the shirt I would want.
Which is awesome because we get the tiger later on in the movie. It's all connected. Yeah. Yeah, it's all very, 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 very specific. Like everything is paying off something or paying homage to something else while also working within its own thing, which is great. It's like what you would want, somebody that's like driven by your influences. Like you would just wear them on your sleeve, and that's kind of what this movie is. Yeah,
totally. I think we both really like this film, and it's so fun, and so this is like the high art of the grindhouse, basically.
If there ever could be such a thing. Yeah.
That's what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I think next week we're gonna do Bram Stoker's Dracula. We're gonna talk about that film.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. And I think maybe at some point we'll figure out when we'll do the Processor review.
The Possessor.
Yeah. Possessor. Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll do
I'm curious.
About that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think of it, because there are like tiny like little parallels to this movie. Obviously, the lead is Mandy herself. I'm curious. I'm curious what you think of it. There's a couple kills in there that are similar to this movie, but the mood overall is like very different. And again, in its current form, so they renamed the movie. Again, I think it's just the distributor. They renamed it Possessor Uncut. So like officially, that's like the title that you'll see everywhere, and you're like, "Ooh, uncut! What does that mean?" And like, yeah, there are a couple like uncut moments, but I just wonder if like they try to take this to a rating board, and they were just like, "Fucking never mind." Like this movie would never be released. It's just too much right now. Maybe in like 5 years, it's okay. But I'm curious to see what you think. So if we get a chance, we'll talk about that movie too.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. So that'll be our review for today. Thanks everyone for stopping by and listening. And we'll see you again next week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Peace out.